There we are. Hello, everybody, and welcome. Ooh, okay, this is much hotter than I thought. I have hot chocolate for you today to say good morning. Welcome to the channel. You're on Booktube, and my name is Margaret Pinard. I'm a historical fiction and fantasy author, and today we're talking Booktube because it's Booktube reviews. Wednesday wrap up. I do these about every 2 weeks, and I was getting a little worried because I could only see 2 books on my little side tower here, and then I realized, oh no, one went back to the library. Oh no, one's on my nightstand. Oh no, one's audio. So I've got six book reviews for you today, plus one that didn't get on to the thumbnail yesterday because it's a secret bonus. It went into a YouTube short this morning, if any of you saw that, which is just spur of the moment fun. But yeah, that is the purpose of today. And just to remind you, I do have a new book coming out this fall. So if you want to be the first to find out about the title, the pub date, the pre-order offer, and the cover reveal, check out my Patreon link, which is going in the chat right now. And welcome, everybody. I will try not to be too obnoxious about that, but I do want to let people know they like my historical fiction. There's more where that came from. So, I did not even change the banners today. It's another September wrap up, so that works. Let's see. Subscribe if you like historical fiction and other things. The books on the docket today have to do with magic and love and history. So that was what I put on the tweet. If you like any of those things or those things in combination, you may find some good reads today. So I'm going to go through backwards chronological order, and I'm going to let my Storygraph reviews help lead the way. So I did these last night so that I could have something to hold on to. So we'll use that as a little helper. Is that any better? No, that's not big enough. Okay, we'll do this. Also, hi JC, welcome, good morning. It's Wednesday, it's your productivity stream day. And JC says, I love all those things, which is great, so do I. Okay, so we're gonna start, as I said, going backwards. I mean, not backwards, starting at the beginning, chronologically. That's what I meant to say. I did already talk about this for a tag, but this, oh, I can't do it. I can't make it big. This is a 5-star book that I really, really enjoyed, and I'm looking forward to reading more of Evie Dunmore. This is Portrait of a Scotsman, and it's the third in a series, but they're standalone, so it doesn't have to be read in order, which is good because I hadn't read the other two first. And when I did it for the tag, I didn't look up the time, but now I can look up the time. It was 1880, so a little further along than my book. And it's part of a series called A League of Extraordinary Women. And that's what I love about this book. So the abbreviated version of the Storygraph review for this one was, oh my God, how did I not read this sooner? Up until 2 a.m. Bonus, in the author's note in the back, the author Evie Dunmore quoted Mimi Matthews at length talking about using ether for women's pregnancy, for women's childbirth, and how that just exacerbated the power imbalances. And I was like, you are my type of girl, author. Yes, that is what I want to hear about. So basically, Portrait of a Scotsman, it doesn't really go with the bashfulness of the graphic cover, even though it's cute. And it doesn't really have much to do with doing photographic portraits, even though that's the title. So ignore what you see behind the curtain. It's a story about, that's right. She starts off Someone who's rebelling, who is the outsider black sheep of her rich family and isn't expected to make a good match and doesn't really care about all that. She's an artist and a suffragist. And then she meets this guy and there's instant sparks. And she's like, whoa, what did I get myself into? Uh-oh. What's it called when it's not marriage of convenience, but it's like marriage to patch up a scandal, if that's a trope. And so that happens, and she sort of is in for the ride and then trying to figure out if she hasn't made a huge mistake with her life. And you see her friends, you see them go to Scotland where the man is from, and you see his checkered past, and like all these cool things come into play. So really enjoyed it. Lots of great history, lots of great social messages. And like I said in the tag, I wish I could ask Evie Dunmore to come on my channel and talk about that stuff, but she just had a baby with no ether, I'm guessing. And so she's not really on social media, unfortunately, but we'll see when she comes back. So my first 5-star read, excellent. Just proselytizing. Everyone should read it. She's glorious. Felicia is here, dreamingtruth.author, to say hello. JC's writing that author down. Yeah, she's good. She's on my list now. Eloise Barr writes, hello, happy Wednesday. Eva Tian, hey, hey, hey. It's just over on Instagram seeing your beautiful posts. And thanks for being here. So that was book number 1. What do I have for book number 2? History. Okay, so that was History in Love. And the next one is, I need to get the overlay because it's the library book. The next one is History and Love as well, but more just history. This is a nonfiction book. And what was cool is I just saw that Caitlin at Bandy's Books just read this book in the same month. So that was fun. It's by Elian Wu. And she did a lot of studying for her master's into this exact tale. Basically, it's 2 slaves who fled the South and were fugitives in the New England area in the 1850s. And then because the Fugitive Slave Act was in effect, went to Canada and then the UK and continued advocating. And the cool thing is that it's sort of presented like a heist or like a getaway because there's a lot of tension in the narrative that Wu accentuates by like present tense sort of stuff as she explains how they escaped. They escaped by the woman dressing up as a young white man who was seeking medical help. So that meant she got a lot of bandages. She had like the excuse to not be social and talk, and dressed up in very well-tailored clothes because she was a seamstress and she could pass for white. And the husband went as her slave attendant who was helping his master as he traveled to get medical help. And the interesting point of this book is that exploited the narrative that a lot of Southern whites wanted to see. So it was 2 Black folks who were seeing the system for what it was, able to see that people loved the story of the young white master and the faithful slave, and thought, oh, that makes me feel good seeing that social system working as it should. Meanwhile, like they were exploiting that cognitive bias or whatever that would be called in order to slip past censors who were looking for people stuffed in boxes and hideaways on top of the trains and that sort of thing. So very devious, very demure. And so they're very smart and very dedicated and in love as a married couple, and that kept them going through a lot of tense moments, including after they like escaped the South. So very interesting and lots of historical context woven in. It was a different narrative structure than I'm used to and tone. So I don't know that Caitlin touched on that so much, but it really hit me as a different, unique offering that Elian Wu talks about the stuff going on like it's Ocean's 11, and then sort of like what were they going to do here, and then speculates like we don't know what happened in that room, but like this happened afterwards and the papers reported this, and just sort of like, I don't know, speculating as a historian. It's pretty cool. So that was your history bite. Oh, and Eva's got cute little Halloween candles. Love. Fascinating. Dig it. Interesting. Yeah, really good. And I think it just came out last year. So yeah, I got my copy from the library and would definitely recommend Master, Slave, Husband, Wife. Okay. Next book on my list is another history one with an overlay. And this is because I had an audiobook version. This is Book and Dagger by Elise Graham. Now, this actually satisfies one of my Herkyed prompts, well, one of the parts of the prompts. So Herkyed, if you don't know, stands for HRCYED, the hardest reading challenge you will ever do. And that's run by QWordy, the channel who's hosting this year-long readathon. And one of the prompts is read a book in the month it comes out, the month it's released. So the only way I could really hope to do that, because I can't buy hardcovers, is with Libro.fm and their advanced listening copies. You might do the same if you're on NetGalley and can do ebooks, but there's my sideline. Book and Dagger is trying to interest people with the phrase cloak and dagger, like spycraft, and that is what this book is about. So during World War II, the premise of this is that in America, they had no intelligence sources. So when they entered World War II, they were at a significant disadvantage. And instead of trying to catch up to the Axis powers and the UK, which totally looked down on America because they didn't have the structure for a spy network, they were like, okay, what do we have? And they had academics who could convert. And so basically, Book and Dagger explains how the government, FDR, of that time in like 1940-ish, tapped its resources in academic institutions to collect intelligence. And what's interesting is that, of course, America had been working on R&D stuff like science, chemistry, technology, all that sort of stuff for weapons and military applications. But what I did not know was that their spy program is basically R&A. It started in World War II for research and analysis. So instead of developing things that like were physical inventions, it was analyzing information that, as you know, as we go through history, information just increases. Everyone is generating information, but you need to be able to analyze it, especially today. You need to be a critical thinker to have any sort of hope of analyzing power dynamics and danger and risk and all that stuff. So we follow a few different people who get profiled, mostly from like Yale and Harvard and such. And one of them's a not so good guy. And several of them are really cool and do great things. And so you get to know, and here's where I'm going to take advantage of my details here that I wrote down. So they used academics. They also used Hollywood. So I said, it's a niche history lesson, but I enjoyed hearing about the arm of R&A that focused on analysis of information as its chief benefit to the Allied war effort. One of the things I would note is that it was pretty grim to hear about what happened to some of the women spies that were caught under the Reich. That was like definitely burned into my memory. So it does get a little graphic. And revelations about how the Nazi war machine was slowed down. So like one cool side example is there was a gal who was stationed in Sweden, and I didn't know Sweden was a neutral country, and they were basically on the Nazi side but holding neutrality. And so she was stationed there at a legate, whatever that's called, instead of a consulate. And she basically was like posing as an academic, which she was, but she went to libraries. Like she weaponized her library card. She went to get journals and important technological advance articles and talked to people and opened mail, intercepted mail, and took a lot of pictures and sent them home of just like, again, random information. So stuff like there was a railway catalog of 1937, say, and it gave all the addresses of all the Nazi, manufacturing places. And then think about it. Well, okay, if you can't bomb all the places making the weapons and trains and whatever, like, what do all those things depend on? Ball bearings. So, like, where's the only place making most of the ball bearings for the Nazis? Let's get a saboteur in there. And it was just like, this is so great. So I really loved the style. It was a bit meandering. It kept switching back from different locations, and just fascinating insights and like a niche historical look at American academic and Hollywood spies during World War II. And I think that's what I said. Yeah, mainly centering on Europe. That's the other thing. They don't go into the rest of the theater of war. Yeah. So very cool. I'm missing a bunch of chat here. What happened? I bet you're all conversing with each other. Let's see. JC said, I love that title. Yeah, Book and Dagger is definitely a good title. This is Laura. Hi, Laura. Run to the castle. Welcome. And Emma Bennett. Hello, hello. And don't forget to boop the like button. Thank you, Emma. All the Lauras. Deeply confusing. JC's real name is also Laura. That is not true. That is an alternate fact, Emma. Eloise, my name is also Laura, but I spell it the proper way. Oh, goodness. Okay. This is why the chat blew up. We're fiddling with people's names. This is funny. Lara, and I sound like Colonel Sanders every time I introduce myself. I don't know what that refers to, but okay. We're also listening to this plot line, which is fascinating. Thank you. And Leslie is here. Happy Wednesday. Welcome, welcome. So I'm through 3, and I've got 3 more to go, plus my bonus here. So the next book is a historical mystery. I mean, there's some love in here, but they're like married. They're like middle-aged married, so it doesn't focus on the romance. This is Heirs of the Body, and I love this cover by Carola Dunn. It's a part of the Daisy Dalrymple mystery series. I love this cover. Yeah, it's just because the rainbow and because it reminds me of like the 1920s paper dolls, I think. Anyway, so, and this author is actually living in Oregon, which is fun. So for heirs of the body, this is a legal phrase, and basically it's talking about inheritance. So what we have here is funny because it's basically an inheritance money grab, right? So Daisy is a wife of a policeman, an amateur sleuth, and she gets into all sort of hijinks basically. But this one involves her family, and instead of finding a dead body, she has to suss out who is the actual heir of the body for her cousin, distant cousin, right? And there's like 4 claimants. So it's kind of like reminding one of the Tichborne claimant, which is what The Fraud by Zadie Smith was based on. I liked that treatment a lot better than the more like mystery style of it, but it was fair enough for like a mystery series. Let's see what I had to say about it in my review because my mind is going blank. Solid historical mystery centering around the claimant situation. Yeah, there's not as much intrigue and uncertainty as the Zadie Smith book. This one opts instead for smoke and mirrors, but that's more sort of what you expect from an amateur sleuth from high society in 1920s. So great historical details and like human character details. So there were a couple points in here where the author puts in someone wearing a certain uniform and being in the street to sell a certain periodical, and I was like, that is gold. I don't know where they got that research, but that impresses me because I don't know where to search for that kind of stuff, but it makes it sound really authentic, and so I'm a little jealous of Carola Dunn. If anyone knows how to contact her, I'd love to be put in touch. But yeah, I've loved the cute the cute family things, and the husband and wife humor is a little bit like Grumpy Sunshine for sure, and the different sort of family dynamics. So it's kind of like a Maisie Dobbs, but less spiritual, so more typical classical mystery. Oh, see, that went right over my head. Yeah, history and mystery. Now we're talking. Did it have Agatha vibes? The plot sounds like it, but real history behind it too. So real history in terms of the setting, but not in terms of the plot. The plot is about a made-up family with 4 claimants going back 4 generations. So they're trying to establish who's the heir. And it could have been someone who went to India. It could have been someone who went to, I think, Jamaica. It could have been someone who went to South Africa. And so they all come because they all want to be the heir to this money. And then, someone dies and that sort of thing. So maybe a little bit like Agatha Christie. I'm not a huge Agatha Christie fan. So, not sure if I can answer that accurately. A journal from Grandmama. I missed what that refers to, except if it's your book. I'm not sure, Eva. Okay, and then Laura said, this month I read 16 books so far. Manga volumes, graphic novels, and 4 novels. Very nice. Yeah, Murder, She Wrote vibes, except instead of an elder protagonist, it's like a young mother. She's got 1 stepdaughter and 2 young twin kids, so it's like a little madcap. That's definitely the word I would go for. More madcap Murder, She Wrote than Agatha Christie. Oh, I see. Okay. Where the author got, maybe that would, that might be nice, because I think she is British, so that's possible. Okay, that's 4. Oh, wait. That is Bean's fault. I'm always getting a runny nose. If Laura's asking me, do I journal about what I read? No. If I'm taking notes, I put them in Storygraph and then forget about them forever. Anybody else? Okay, so book number 5 in our treasure trove today, I believe, is going to be Woven in Moonlight. Okay, so this is where we return to the land of readathons. I don't think it'll be anything for Herc yet, but it is for Hispanic Heritage Month, and it's been on my shelf for a while, so I'm glad that I finally got to this one. Woven in Moonlight is by Isabel Ibanez, and it is a folklore-based, magical, historical fiction. That's how I would call it. So I can't really call it witchy romance, although there is romance in here. I would call it YA or new adult, perhaps. But this one centers around, or is based on, I believe, Bolivian struggle for representation and basically equality. So she sets up in a magical world what is a parallel to Eurocentric culture and oppression of indigenous culture, especially with people mining in the mountains and people weaving as a skill. And so she does some really deft work doing that parallel and metaphor, but also has a really lovely story of the people involved and how they learn to trust each other and how they're hiding secrets and how they're learning about their magic and all these great things. So I really enjoyed this for Latinx Readathon, Hispanic Heritage Month, as well as witchy romance. I mean, I would say it works for both. And what did I say in the review specifically? Let's see. A very tense resolution of someone's identity. Oh, yeah. So there's someone who wears a mask in this, and it's like left until very near the end till you see who it is. And it's like, oh, I don't know. Who could it be? So that was very well done. There's a very steamy love interest, which I appreciated very much. And there's I think it's called third act breakup trope, which usually falls pretty flat for me, but they actually had a very believable reason involved with the revolt and the rebellion and everything. So nicely done again. So I already said that. I was a little confused about the age of the heroine. I think she acts a lot older than the 18 she supposedly is, but love the magic imagined to be hers and how it sort of takes on her personality. And you'll see what I mean when you read it. It's very cute. So it's about a revolution and pretty violent, but it's cute and has a happy ending. So don't be mad at it. That's my that's my vibe for that one. So very cool. And yeah, made Laura laugh. Final one, number 6, is the Xhex. Definitely qualifies for witchy romance. This is a novel by Erin Sterling. I think it's a few years old. I think she's got another one out already, 2021. And let's see. I'm doing pretty well reading through books that I've bought in the last couple years. Pat myself on the back. No, I've definitely bought too many books. So I would say this is like Southern romance meets Gothic witches, maybe. It's definitely less on the dark side. It's not like dark academia at all. It's a cute tale about a second chance romance set in a small Georgia town with a connection to some witches in Wales. So the Georgia town has witches, but the Wales town also has witches, and they're sort of enemies. Something goes wrong and it gets worse, and then our heroine develops the very abilities to solve it with no prompting. So that was a little too easy, but it's a short novel, and the hero grows a pair. That's what I said for the ending, because that's how you solve enemies to lovers, right? I would have appreciated some more heart-to-heart emotional work for the relationship to resolve itself. And I was talking to Leah Lindman about this on Instagram a little bit, but it's a light and quirky, fun, witchy romance. So if that is what you're in the mood for, this definitely does the trick. And it's very cute and funny. There's lots of humor. That's kind of the hero's flaw, is that he doesn't talk straight. He just always jokes about things, and so the heroine doesn't know if she can trust him because he never fully invests. And so that leads to a lot of humor in the book, which is pretty fun for the reader. So I liked Xhex in that respect. So that's my 6 books, but there's a bonus, which if you have been patiently waiting for, now's the time. And it goes with an author update. The author update is, so I have a book coming out this fall. I definitely am going to be giving out details. And the first one's going to be the title reveal on Friday. Friday is final Friday. Yes, that's right. Final Friday for September, which is sad because September has been beautiful mostly. But it must be done because this rollout must begin somewhere and I got to commit. So final Friday productivity stream on my channel is 9:30 to 11:30 Pacific, and I will be dropping the title reveal midway. And a couple of you probably already know the title because I asked you about it. But this book I got yesterday from the library, maybe the day before. I started reading it yesterday and stayed up until 9:30, 10, and then finished it this morning. So that is what gave me this beautiful... I don't journal about the books I read, Laura, but I do page flag the hell out of them. So yeah, so this is the interlibrary loan book I got about the political biography of James Bron OBrien. And he lived from 1804 to 1864, and he is one of the real-life characters that I use as a secondary character in my novel. So I do twist things a little bit, but not anything major personality-wise. I just want him to be an interesting character so that people's interest is piqued, and they may be investigating more of the history. So I went through this and learned a little bit more about Bron OBrien. He was an Irishman. He grew up and went to pretty good schools in Ireland, and then went to London to sort of make his fortune. He was going to be a lawyer and then abandoned that, and all the people that paid for his education were like, oh, shucks. So he's in London, and then he started working as a journalist and writing for different papers and being a radical. So be still my heart. Yeah, mostly in London, but he did a lot of touring and a lot of lecturing and a lot of publishing of articles and pamphlets and whatnot. So we've got a lot of evidence of his thoughts of radical reform, educating the masses, like all this great stuff. So I whipped right through that. I'd heard a lot of the people that are referenced in here, which made it easier because, again, pat myself on the back. I have been researching this a lot, so it felt good to get to one of the characters and be like, oh, okay, that person he was close to, and this person, well, he had a lot of arguments with people. But yeah, so interesting stuff, and very fun to page flag and have fun with that. Oh yeah, end of September already. I know, it's crazy. Jocelyn came in. Hello, my dear. I don't know what Josie was oohing about. Probably the page flags. Can you spell his name? Bron. So I don't know if this goes backwards. It's his pen name. So his name was James O'Brien with an E. I-E-N. Oh, that's kind of a funny Geordie LaForge look. But he took the name Bron, and I'm not sure why. Bron is just like a strong one-syllable name. Ter is referring to the earth. He does come in for land nationalization schemes later. Anyway, so I don't know why he chose that. Very little is known about his family, which I exploit, and his married family. And yeah, lots of interesting and great quotes. So I may be using this actually for graphics of quotes to share the sweeping social change kind of vibes in my book, which I hadn't thought of before. So there we go. Live stream light bulbs. You heard it here first. Oh, okay. The title of the new book on Friday. Yay! So hopefully you can join me. I've got the, there we go, link in case you want to put a notification bell. I call it FF on my schedule because it's final Fridays and first Fridays. So that's what I have on there. But yeah, that is, yeah, I had a different banner for that. That's fine. All right. Well, hopefully I'll be able to keep with my schedule and drop all those things on time, marching forward into this fall and the new book. Thank you so much for being here with me and watching and waiting so long. It'll be 5 years since my last novel came out, so this is like a big deal. And you guys have definitely helped me limp along until I could find something that I could sink my teeth into and hold on to for dear life. So goodness, I really appreciate that, Booktube community. You've been great. And hopefully your kindness will be rewarded when we all get this book out together. Okay. Thanks, everybody. Hi, Jim. We'll talk to y'all soon. Take care and happy reading.